Your hands are tired, your soul feels worn, chasing the day since the crack of dawn. The mirror whispers, who have you become? A shadow of light or a rising sun? Reset your mind, reset your heart, hit the switch back to...
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Caregiver Reset. Today we have our very special guest, Mayor McCormac. It is such an honor to have you on our podcast. You are our first guest on the Caregiver Reset, and word on the street is that it is your first podcast interview.
My very first one.
We are so excited to have you here. You have done so much for Woodbridge Township and for our community, and this is just another way to continue to explore and really understand and learn a little bit more about the project at the Ford Avenue site. So for a little context of the playground that is being built, it is a multi-age based playground, and it has poured surfacing for rubber safety, and then also accessible loops for walking and ADA accessibility so that all children of all abilities and families can play and enjoy and spend time with their peers in their community. So with all of that being said, what was one of the biggest reasons for wanting to build a park at the Ford Avenue site?
Well, we have one other handicapped accessible playground in the Seawarren section of town, but we're 25 square miles. So nothing says we can't have more than one. So when the opportunity came to figure out what to do with the site of the former School 14, which the Board of Ed realized they just couldn't renovate that school cost effectively, and building a new one on site didn't make sense. It's very small, it's under 2 acres. So they left it to us. We did have a meeting many years ago with the community. Not many people showed up, but we thought long and hard, what could that site be? We didn't want apartments. We didn't want retail because it's a corner that's very busy, certainly too small for a warehouse, but a handicapped accessible playground in the town as big as ours that only has one other one made perfect sense. Mm-hmm. And then we started kicking things around, and it just came into existence, and we developed a plan, and now we're going through the process of tearing down the school, and we know exactly what we want to build, and we had help from people like you and people like Mark Bullock, both of whom have kids, handicapped kids who will use this playground, so you're perfect to be somebody we go to for advising, and we're looking forward to it.
And I will say the playground that already exists in Seawarren is one of the best accessible playgrounds that Zach and I have gone to before because of how the shaping is too. It's got that horseshoe type of shaping, the semicircle, and there's monkey bars in the middle. So we at one time had a kid come up to Zach and say, "I want to race." And the playground equipment allowed us to be able to race. I was
Wow.
able to run Zach around the entire playground, and the kid did the monkey bars across. And so it was just so magical. And because that's how, even when we've shared before, it's when kids learn how to play with our kids, they learn how to then live with each other as they grow into teenagers and adults. And it's just so special to be able to create opportunities where there's interabled play, right? Where there's opportunity to be able to be on the same playground structure and actually play together, right? It's not just, so many times when we see accessible designs, it's like, it feels like afterthoughts, right? It's, oh yeah, there's something over here on the side for someone in a wheelchair to play with, or, we put a ramp down, so that's accessible, right? But, how many times have I gone to a playground where it's accessible, but I get to push Zach up a ramp and turn right back around and push him back down. That's not really playing, right? So I'm so excited to see our designs. I'm so excited to see our plans. And
you give me goosebumps here.
It really is. It makes all the world of a difference. This podcast is all about caregiver burnout. And when there's space in the community that supports caregivers, supports families with disabilities and special needs, we feel supported. We get a little bit of that respite. We get a little bit of that reprieve. And it just means so much to us because there isn't a lot in the community. Even sometimes when we go to hospitals that are intended for special needs, it's not even the most accessible place. So it really means so much to us that the township pays attention to the needs of the community, and that you're actually putting, and this isn't the first program. There's other programs that the township has had as well, such as the cafe and the Rise program. Can you tell us a little bit more about those as well?
Yeah, first of all, I'm glad to hear you like Seawarren, because if you love Seawarren, you're really going to love what we're doing in School 14. We have always been a town that's been aware of the needs of the special needs community. I started working for the town in 1992 as the chief financial officer. Wasn't directly involved, but the mayor started Buddyball at the time. Wonderful. Started with bowling, I think. They put the, you can't miss when you put the
our buffers, right?
The ramp up, yeah, and the buffers, it's great. And then it went to soccer, then it went to baseball, softball, basketball. Now they do hockey. It's just phenomenal what Buddyball does. The Rise program is for kids 18 to 21 who graduate from school but don't leave yet. 3 more years they stay. They're the responsibility of the school. We did start Mayor Mac's Cafe. That's such a cool thing.
It is, and really good food too.
Phenomenal food, great prices. The kids, they're greeters, they're servers, they're cooks, they're cashiers, they're custodians. They learn everything. I will never forget the first day we had about 20 kids training, and they got their first paycheck. And these kids never before have made money. And we had them all in a gigantic picture with everybody holding up their paycheck. I'm still getting goosebumps thinking about it.
Yeah.
So and the STARS program and so many other things that the town does. The school is a very welcoming school district for special needs students. So we are a community with our schools that just embraces the community, and we'll do anything we can to help.
Yeah, and we've always felt that as residents of Woodbridge. We've always felt that we were supported by the community. Even though Zach goes out of district, Woodbridge Township School District has supported us every step of the way in order to meet Zach's needs, and they're able to provide us transportation through the district. They're really able to understand and assess what we need so that it fits Zach the best that he needs, right? So it fits other kids that may not live in, or that live in the township but have higher needs than what schools like Matthew Jago can support, or School 25, and that's okay, right? But we hear so many horror stories of other districts not being supportive of families and giving them a hard time. And at the end of the day, what really matters is that the kids have an environment where they can learn, they can grow, they can thrive, and learn that independence. And so being able to have programs like the STARS program, RISE program, it allows so much of that. And so, but it's all community. At the end of the day, it all comes back down to community. And what do you think were some of the most important things that you heard when you were piloting and planning for the playground?
The need. Certainly people said it's something that the township needs. A lot of people, we did a survey. We had to do a survey for the Green Acres grant that we're pursuing. And the questions we asked about, what would you like to see there? And people overwhelmingly supported the playground. They did not want, as I said before, did not want apartments, did not want retail. Playground made the most sense. They gave us suggestions, a lot of suggestions. We obviously knew you make sure it's fenced, make sure it's lit, make sure it's secured, those kind of things. But they even offered some suggestions as to the type of equipment we could use for a handicapped accessible playground. We have a company, J.J. Ryan, that gave us the plan, which you've seen. And it actually changed because I guess the federal laws changed in between this process somehow. And their original plan was no longer qualified under the new rules, and I think it's Jake's Law, somebody's law, is it?
Jake's Law,
Jake's
yeah.
Law, okay. That changed a lot of the parameters that we had to put into this design.
Yeah.
So right in the middle of the process, we added more features. So everybody loves the fact that lives in the area, including you're right across the street.
Not even across the street. We share property line.
You said you share a property line.
We share the property line, so
Okay.
I made sure.
Yeah, you're our biggest advocate.
I pinky promised you, and I was like,
I do remember the
"Please,
pinky promise.
Please make sure that Zachary can play on this playground because it matters."
You were the one that maybe put it really into our minds. Probably we were thinking about it, but when we met and talked, and when I met Zach Attack, we decided that's what we wanted to do.
Yeah, and oh my gosh, I'm already crying. Like we see it every morning. We see the construction crew, the demolition crew.
Somebody just showed me a picture of your husband showed me a picture of the demolition.
Yes, they're making great progress, and it's bittersweet, right? Because I think change is really difficult for so many people, and when you go and see sometimes feedback of the history of the school, and our neighbor, her dad went to that school, and her grandkids went to that school, so there's a ton of history in the school, and
Right.
and we recognize that, right? So, but I think both can exist at the same time, right? That celebration of history and tradition and things that used to be, along with welcoming growth and change in the community and evolution, right?
And we kept a few things from the school. We kept some of the pieces of the school. We kept the signs. We kept a lot of things from the inside. We had all 3 high school art teachers come out for a meeting. We had artists from town come out for a meeting. We went to the school. We said, what do we save? What's your ideas? There's going to be a bunch of things on site that are a tribute to the history of the school.
Oh, that's really, really special.
But, you know, the Board of Ed made the right decision. It holds 200 kids. These days, schools are 450, 500 kids. It just wasn't worth putting, you know, 12 or 15 million into a school when you can build a new one for 30, 35, 40, whatever the numbers are. And they changed since we started. Everything changed so much since we started this years ago. So it was the right decision, a brand new addition to School 25, a mile away. I think the kids are going to get a better education there than they would have with an old 100-year-old school.
I agree. I certainly agree. And it just goes to show that you listen to what the town needs. How do you feel that caregivers can continue to share their opinions, their thoughts, their feedback about the playground with you and with the township as a whole?
Well, we're accessible. I mean, we are out there listening. People can call us, email us, text us, tweet us, whatever they do. All the things I don't know how to use, I have to get someone to help me do it. But we listen. You know, we're there every other Tuesday night. Although a council meeting is not always the best place to go to bring up good ideas because it's very contentious in many cases. Just contact us, email us. You know, we'll sit down. There's a group of parents, concerned parents. We're happy to sit and talk. We'll go to meetings. I went to the PTO at School 25 way back when. We'll go again as we get closer. We'll go to any group of parents that are in the field that want to, you know, have some more input, whatever it takes. We're very available and very accessible.
Yeah, and thank you for that. Thank you so much for that. Do you think, what do you feel the playground can help in maintaining the inclusive philosophy beyond construction? So are there things that the township should be aware of in terms of support? A lot of the times what will happen is a playground will be built and then it kind of gets forgotten about. So making sure that there's maintenance there, making sure that there's upkeep and you know, just sometimes straps are broken or things. So what's the plan for that? What's the plan to make sure?
You're going to make sure you tell me every time something's broken.
I'll be the spy.
Either you or your husband, you live right there. But we have a really good park system, a really good playground system. Our public works department is phenomenal. We just saw it with the snow, how good they were. Our services are great, you know, the basic services of trash and recycling and roads. But we have a great park system, over 50 parks, and they're in pretty good shape. They're maintained. People can call us and let us know if there's a swing broken, if there's a piece of the fence missing, and we'll be out there fixing it. And plus, this one now is personal because it's ours.
Yeah,
you know, I inherited 50 parks. I didn't build many. This is one that is ours from the beginning, so it's a special place in our heart for this playground. So I can assure you, it'll get attention. Yeah.
No, we're so excited. And again, we've addressed before the challenges that accessibility, you know, having a playground that's accessible has been able to create, and making sure that there's enough seating, enough shade, enough, you know, so that it's where, you know, my biggest philosophy is that we're not going to be 100% accessible 100% of the time to everybody's needs, but this design really shows that it takes into consideration the spectrum of needs, right? The going from kids and families and adults who aren't mobile, right? They have mobility challenges, to the ones who run and escape the moment that they see an outdoor exit. So it's amazing just to see the blend of all the pieces. And there's other aspects of the playground as well that, or not even just the playground, but there's other pieces of that structure that's going to be built there as well, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I'm not the expert now. We have the company doing it for us, but yes, there's things that are going to be auditory and sensory and things that kids can stop by and use and challenge themselves and help develop their skills in those areas. So I'm not the person to really explain it as well as it should be explained, but we're aware of that.
And then there's like fitness, there's fitness pieces too, right? Fitness components?
Yeah, there's fitness. Look, it's a full playground.
Amazing. Amazing.
It's not just a handicapped accessible playground. Anybody can come, and that's important to the kids too, because you don't want it to be just for the handicapped kids or special needs kids. You want it to be for everybody, totally inclusive. And yeah, Zach's there, and yeah, Mark's daughter's there, and that's fine. But everybody's there.
Everybody.
And then that's what's even better for their development is to interact.
Exactly.
This is just going to be such a good plan. I don't know if you're going to get into it, but I don't want to lose sight of it. We're going to put a unit, handicap swings in all of our busiest playgrounds.
Amazing.
Probably 30, I think we have a plan for 30. Mark was very influential in that. He went and looked at a couple parks and he said, I've seen enough. I know what you're doing. I'm not going to say, we don't want to show them all 30 parks. But we said, look, here's where you build and he was great. He says, you got to build a macadam asphalt path up for the wheelchairs, and, the wood chips aren't as good as the rubber, and he's telling us all this stuff. And we're going to try to get a 2-unit swing where you can just wheel a handicapped person right on it, swing them, next to somebody else who's either handicapped or not.
Right.
And so all the playgrounds will have something like that.
Yeah.
As well as this playground is going to be phenomenal. But we're trying to put something everywhere. So if there's somebody who can't drive to Ford's, or they live near a local playground, they'll have something too, at least something.
And that's a huge accomplishment too, is to be able to say that we are one of the first towns to have.
Oh, Mark challenged me on mine. I'm all in. We're going to be the first one to have something in every playground.
Listen, one thing that we know about being caregivers is you can't let up. Right? It is really the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and you really can't let up. It's in the caregiver world, we get so many denials from insurance companies and from just society just not being welcoming to us, not being accessible, not including us in things that it's like, no, we need to get louder. We need to get, in front of the people who can actually make a difference, right? Versus just sitting on the computer and complaining about it, or talking amongst ourselves and saying, I just wish things were different. That was part of the reason why this podcast even came about. Was I have the experience from the mental health side of things, and, navigating burnout, navigating grief, and finding joy in the little things. But it's also, how can we have conversations with people that matter, that are making a difference, or that are open to making that difference? And so it really is just such an exciting thing.
You have an obligation not to be shy.
Yes, 100%. 100%. It helps that I'm also an only child, so I didn't hear no very often growing up. So now that you're telling me no, not you specifically, right? You've always told me yes. But when I hear no, and then it's no for my kid, oh, excuse me, you cannot stand in my way.
Why would there be a no? Why would somebody be against putting equipment that everybody can use, no matter what their physical situation?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a swing set for wheelchairs. What's wrong with that?
Right. It's not hurting anybody. It's not, and again, it really it's building kindness for the future. It's showing how kids and parents can interact with kids and people who are different than them. And then they can work together, they can live together, they can, even be in a relationship together. Like, there's just so much future that has to be built at the child level.
Right, that's why we have
the
the thing Friday Friends, not me, but the Board of Ed. Colonial High School, middle school, kids give up their lunch hour every Friday, I think. Yeah, every Friday, of course, it's Friday's Friends. And they meet with the special needs kids. And they teach them, how to make a bed, how to cook, how to clean.
Incredible.
And these kids, and so many of those kids have later gone on to a career in special need teaching. I know one girl, for example, I know her dad, and she was so enamored with Friday's Friends that she became a special ed teacher.
Yeah.
And that's what's great about the school system. They have so many of these programs that just intermingle everybody and you're not afraid of it. You're not afraid of a kid in a wheelchair. You're not afraid of a kid with a speech impediment or some other kind of physical ailment. You're adaptive. You really said, I'm okay with that. My friend has that.
Right. It's no longer foreign. Right. It no longer feels like it's at an arm's length.
Right.
Like, oh, I don't know. And then there's that fragility, right, and judgment that can come in. So even Zach's sister, I think she always wanted to do something in some sort of helping field, but she's studying to become an occupational therapist. Why? Because she's gotten to see all the things that Zach's had to experience and being able to go out. So these kids, these families, they inspire so many lives, and we find the strength and we find the resources and we find people who really stand behind us. And I just look forward to it, and I continue to see that. And where do you feel that in continuing to plan and expand for future programs, future, yes, we're adding some additional swings to the playgrounds that already exist in the town. What other things kind of come to mind as far as, does the theater have sensory time? I know there's some plans for the theater as well.
I don't know. No, we don't have anything now.
Yeah, so
but
nothing
it's something
concrete
that's
yet.
it's been discussed, but not terribly seriously yet. I have to admit that.
Well, if you ever need inclusive design influence.
It's a great place. It's a great theater. We don't run it. It's run by a nonprofit through the town, kind of. We own the building. It's a wonderful resource.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of kid shows there. And if there's something we could be doing better there, we certainly would love to hear it.
Mm-hmm. And we've even found, you handle plays in the park accessibility really well as well. I know
That's
that's the county,
but yeah.
But it's just always so nice to have a lot of that overlap and having, it's just nice. It's nice to be welcomed.
Yeah, all of our concerts have a special place for seniors and a special place for handicapped, right up front, which is good.
Yep. Our star seating, and we've participated in Woodbridge Buddyball. We've done so many things, and we're just so blessed. We're so lucky. What message do you want caregivers in Woodbridge Township to know? As kind of a final ending piece for us, is there any final words?
Just trust us and advise us that what you think we need, what you think we should be doing that we're not doing, we can bring into town that we don't have in town. We will listen. We're not afraid to put township resources toward the population, and you can see that, between the different programs, the cafe, and now the playgrounds. We want to help. We want to be a town that is very welcoming to the special needs population. And just what we don't know, I'm not an expert. We have the passion for it, but not necessarily the knowledge or the experience or the training, but we have the passion for it, and that's probably more important to start with that than everything else.
Absolutely. Everything else, all the logistics can be figured out.
I can get experts to tell me what to do, but you have to have the desire to do it, or it's not going to work. And we'll just close with one thing. Zach is going to be the first one on whatever piece of equipment he wants to use when we have the groundbreaking. We're going to have groundbreaking. We're going to have probably something soon as the weather breaks.
Yay! Okay, listen, that snow has to melt, man.
Yeah, I know. We'll have pictures up, and we'll have easels and drawings and all that. But when it comes time to open the playground, and I don't know when it'll be. I don't know if it'll be later this year. It's going to be hard to get it later this year, but certainly in the spring of next year. Zach's the first one on. Whatever, he's going to pick the piece of equipment he wants to go on, and the cameras are going to roll, and Zach's going to be the one on it. And followed right after that by Mark's daughter.
Yes. Oh my gosh, Morgan and Zach are going to have the best time there. We cannot. In fact,
we might just open it an hour earlier for those two and let them run around.
Yes, you heard it here. Okay, now it is set in stone.
Yep.
Oh my goodness, Mayor McCormac, thank you so much for being our very first guest on the Caregiver Reset.
And you're my very first podcast.
And thank you truly so much for listening to us and being a part and really believing in our kids, believing in our town. And we just appreciate you and love you so much.
It's our pleasure, and thanks for your advocacy, because without people like you and Mark, this might not have happened.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Reset your mind, reset your heart.